Now on Talking Solutions, Andre Wade with the Center. Andre, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Our friend Leticia had told me, why don't you have the Center in? And I said, wow, we've never talked about the Center. So I'm sure that a lot of the people who are listening to us today don't know what is the Center. One of the guys here in the station, football fan, he totally joked. He said, you're talking about the football player, the center, right? No.
That's a new one.
It's a bad joke. That's what it is. What is the Center?
Well, thank you for asking. We love to promote the Center, and I'm glad Leticia came to you. She's a great supporter of ours. So the Center is a community-based organization. We're called the Gay and Lesbian Community Center, but we serve the lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer community. And we have a host of programs and services for those 13 and all the way up. We've been around for going on 25 years. We've been in our new building for 5 years. So that's the thumbnail sketch of who we are.
Wow. I did not realize that you've been around basically as long as I've been in town, because I got here in 92.
Okay.
And so just over 25 years, but the Center has been present. I think maybe the profile of the Center was raised and highlighted when you guys moved into your new facility, because you're in the downtown area. Is that right?
You're exactly right. We were in Commercial Center and a few other spots before that. And almost 5 years ago, moving into the new building, like you said, the profile raised because it was that time when downtown was going through that revitalization. The Smith Center was cropping up and City Hall was getting their new building. And so there's this big championship for all this new development, including the Center's building and specifically for the LGBTQ community. As an example, a couple of years ago, maybe, Jan Jones, the former mayor.
Jones Blackhurst.
Blackhurst, I should say. Mm-hmm. Yes. She was at a philanthropy summit and she was talking about downtown development and she mentioned the Center specifically. And I just think that really speaks to where we sit downtown and how important it is for the city as a whole.
With the Center specifically serving the LBGTQ community, you're all inclusive, so you would be welcoming anyone.
Absolutely. We serve anyone regardless of sexual orientation, gender identity. Our programs are targeted towards youth, senior, transgender, people living with HIV. We do free testing for HIV and syphilis. We have a cyber center, a lending library, event hall space where people can come in and hold events. We have an information referral desk so people can find out what's going on at the center or what's going on in the community. We get questions from where can I find a gay doctor to I'm in a domestic violence situation, I need housing. We're there to serve everyone. I used to say that we can't be everything to everyone because then we'll be nothing to no one. But because we are charged with doing so much for our community, we're the only organization doing this work in Nevada at this scale. We try to be nimble and try to help those who come through our doors or to provide activities and fun events for those who are in need of community.
The thing that I did not hear you mention about the Center, Andre, is the restaurant.
Because the restaurant's not there right now.
No, really?
The Bronze Cafe left in September. So actually we're looking for new proposals for people who are interested in having the cafe space at the Center. So it's a great opportunity because we do have a catering kitchen as well. We're looking for a new vendor.
I didn't know the Bronze Cafe left.
It's still downtown on Fremont and around 6th or 7th.
Stuff changes fast. Andre, I would imagine you get all kinds of questions about the Center. Do people ever say, why would you need to have something like that?
We do. And the answer is there are still a lot of people who require a safe place to go to be themselves. Even though it seems that there's a lot more acceptance out in the world and in the community, largely it's still difficult for people, especially those who identify as transgender and those who have difficulty passing, as we say. So people come to the Center for community, for friendship, for programming and support, because if we refer someone to another organization, let's say for, again, housing, we have anxiety around whether or not that community resource provider is really going to be culturally competent in serving that individual. And so oftentimes LGBTQ identified people decide to not access mainstream resources because they feel like they're going to be discriminated against or harassed. And that's particularly for transgender folks. That goes to medical care as well. So transgender and lesbian women tend to not seek health care because their doctors don't know how to care for them in a way that they feel comfortable. That's not good. And so what we also do is go out and train providers and community partners on LGBTQ competency because there are our needs of knowing the nuances of how to care for folks and how to treat people.
You're talking about increased acceptance of the LGBTQ community that you serve with the center. And on the surface, everybody's like, oh yeah, we're all good. But
Right.
when people are in a one-on-one situation and they're not being observed by others, they're not on that stage where they're saying, oh yes, we are understanding and accepting and all-inclusive. I would think in the shadows is when a lot of those biases really come out.
You are exactly right. It's the biases that we all have against many different people and things. As an example, and I won't give too many details, I had a meeting with someone yesterday. They're newer to town and they are trying to find out what's going on at the center. They have a business close by, so they're just trying to be a good neighbor. Part of the conversation was them thinking that the media is really amplifying discord between the LGBTQ community and mainstream community. But the underlying piece from them was, why can't we just agree to disagree? Like, we still love you, but we don't agree with who you are. The problem in all of that is people say they love us as a community, but they don't agree with the things we quote unquote do. But what does that really mean? We're not doing anything, but people love to bring up religion as a way to have the divide. People think that there's a choice there. And that's, I think, the main thing. People think that we've chosen to be different, that we've chosen to live a life where we're going to be discriminated against, that we're going to lose our family, that in some states you can lose your job simply because you identify. I think that's where people can't wrap their minds around it, that it's not a choice. And I said to this person, you don't know why you like women. You can say what you like about women, but you don't know why you do. It's just like, I don't know why I like men. I just do. So he sat there and thought about it. He was like, yeah, I guess you're right. Not that I've really changed his mind, but these are the conversations we have to have because these are the things that people think about. And then it plays out when they're helping someone or when they're watching TV. And then how does that play out in everyday life when, again, the biases come up?
Over time, I do see views and opinions start to change and moderate as they become better informed.
Yeah.
One of the purposes of this show, Talking Solutions, is I believe by shining a light on something, it increases your understanding. You discover empathy. And in the long run, we're all nicer to one another. And isn't that really the goal?
That's the goal. Once we start seeing each other as people with same struggles, same goals in life to be happy, I hope that we can just accept one another and accept each other for who we truly are, because that's what I think we're on earth to do, is to live our best lives. And it's when we face people who are different from us, either the way that we look or the way we think, is when we're challenged to put that to the test of how accepting and humane we're going to be.
Kindness. That's
Kindness
a big
is
deal.
number one thing.
And as far as you had referred to, by the way, we're talking today with Andre Wade with the Center. The Center handles all kinds of different issues and needs for the LGBTQ community. I would imagine, knowing that Las Vegas itself is different, we may actually have more people that you could serve. Because the perception of Las Vegas and the rest of the country is, hey, if I want to do something crazy and different, I need to go to Las Vegas.
Right.
Seems to make sense.
What I do think is interesting is because of our new building, people come from other states and even other countries, believe it or not, and take a look at what we have going on, and they're just amazed. And so it's really great to be able to give tours to people to say, this is what we are doing here in Las Vegas. We're really proud of that.
Is the center a charity?
Yes, we're absolutely a 501c3 nonprofit charity. So we get our funding from individual donations, from caring community members, corporate sponsors, from foundations, and we do grants, either state, local, sometimes federal.
Well, you had mentioned a few minutes ago how people would come and question, why would you choose to be gay? Or why would you choose to be transgender? You don't choose these things. Our highest goal, in my eyes, is that we be our authentic selves.
Yes.
And live your authentic life.
Yes.
There had to be a time not long ago when people had to live in the shadows.
Yeah, and we're hoping to change that. And I'm glad you mentioned the word authentic, because we have a project called the Authenticity Project where we help transgender folks change their names. We pay for some of the fees if they can't get paid for through the court system. But the name change is vital towards people who transition and want to live their authentic lives. So we help in that process. We have a clothing swap program called Switch that allows folks to come in that identifies transgender, gender non-conforming to get clothing for free. And so we're there to help people who couldn't otherwise us do this because it's expensive to transition and to do it in a way that you can quote unquote pass. And so we're there to offer beauty tips and beauty days and the clothing and the name change process. That's what we're here for. And it's these little nuances that we do that we don't really promote that much in the community. But when people walk through the door, we can give them a laundry list of things that we can help them with.
Once they're there, you can find out all about the services and all the different things that the center can do.
Yes. And with your support doing these sort of shows and promoting organizations like us, it's really helpful. So thank you for all that you do and for the community.
You're very welcome. I don't do nearly what you do for the community with the center. You maybe get questions occasionally from people going, why would you choose a life like that? It's not a choice. It's your reality. It is, as we said, your authentic self. And I just wonder why anyone would choose a life where you are encountering discrimination. I'm sure the stats for kids, suicides, homelessness, sexual trafficking, a lot of different issues. Why would you choose all of that?
We have a program called Pivot for families who are struggling with their children who identify as LGBTQ. The 6-week program, which is free, allows parents to understand what it means to be LGBT identified, the struggles that their children are going through, and knowing that the more accepting they are, the least likely they're going to have negative outcomes, like you mentioned, like depression and suicide ideation. There's a youth track as well. The idea is to have parents to better accept their children. It's not about changing their minds and their morals and their religious beliefs, but to know that just the more accepting you are, the better your child is going to be. Because as young as 8, 10, 12, however, young people know. But when they come out, eventually, that's when the real work begins. But oftentimes people don't come out. And that's when you see a lot of the negative and bad behavior because people are struggling.
And that's got to be one of the hardest conversations you would have with your parent. But perceptive parents, they know. Exactly. That conversation to tell a parent who you are is a different kind of person than maybe you thought I was going to be.
Absolutely. And it's a changing conversation. That's why we call it pivot. It's a pivotal moment in the life of a child and the relationship of a family. And it really sets how well that young person is going to do in life. Because again, you already know as a young person struggling with your identity that whether or not your parents are going to accept you and your community and your friends is going to really dictate how you live your life. And it's an incredibly heroic thing to do to be able to come out when you do. And I don't think we really promote that enough, but coming out is the hardest thing that one can do. And it's only a small percentage of people out there in this world that have to actually, quote unquote, come out.
Andre Wade is the executive director of the center serving our LGBTQ community here in Las Vegas, Southern Nevada. And you're right, exposing your true self is really opening yourself up to people not accepting you, to that intense hurt that you're going to feel if people don't go, you are what you are, and we love you like you are. That's the dream world for all of us.
Absolutely.
That's what we want to have happen. We just want people to understand and accept each other, no matter who or what they are.
Yes.
It's hard enough to be a kid and have everything already on your side. Let's say you're an upper middle class, smart, white kid. That's hard enough. But take and pile up a bunch of other stuff, and that's just the path that you have to walk. It's what you're dealing with.
I'm so glad you mentioned that because there's these things that we call intersectionality. So if you are female and you are Latina, as an example, and then let's say you come out as bisexual, there's these things that you're starting to stack up against you. And so maybe you are from a lower economic status. Maybe you only have a high school diploma for whatever reason. All these intersections start to play out that are going to determine what job you're going to get and how secure you're going to be. And then it all plays out where your sexual orientation might come into play or your gender identity. That's when the real work begins as a community organization. Once marriage equality passed a few years ago, people were like, oh, well, we're done. Let's all cheer for the whole community. But we didn't do a great job of looking at disparities our community faces when it comes to health. And the more that we know about our community, the more we can understand better why do we have health outcomes that aren't that great or education outcomes that aren't that great. Because a lot of people choose to not go to college simply because they've experienced so much bullying and abuse in high school. It's like, I'm not going to college.
I've had enough of that.
I'm done.
When you talk about all of the challenges, one of my closest friends is a Latina woman, incredibly talented, also lesbian. The stuff that she has had to face, the challenges. My life might be difficult, but it's not even close to what she's had to overcome. And as people's attitudes on things change, I know that you mentioned the marriage equality. It's pretty simple. How can I say, I love being married, I hope everyone has the opportunity to do that, and look at this friend of mine and say, oh, it's too bad, since you're lesbian, you won't be able to be married? Why would I say, I love my friend, and then keep them from something that I myself think is wonderful?
Yes. I'm glad that people slowly got to the point where they understood that having same-gender marriages is not going to destroy the fabric of America. It's really going to build upon the strength because we have more people that are committed and supporting each other. That's what we are striving for, all of us, to be stronger and in a committed relationship if that's what we desire. And to have the opportunity to be married is just that expression of that long-term commitment.
And you see it in the faces of the people who finally get the chance to do what they've wanted to do for so many years.
Couples that have been together for 30, 40 years, finally getting a chance to marry. That's magnificent.
And once again, it all comes down to kindness.
Yes.
Andre Wade is Executive Director of the Center serving the LGBTQ community. Andre, on Talking Solutions, we always ask, what can we do to help you?
Well, great question. You've already started with having us here. I think the second thing is to encourage people to go to our website, www.thecenterlv.org. Check out what we have going on, all the programs and services. If you feel compelled to make a donation, we are gladly accepting of that. We have many events throughout the year. We love to see people come and learn more about the community. We host film screenings. We host youth prom, senior prom. We have different conferences at the center. So just come and check us out. We would love to have people there and to learn more about the work that we do. But also important, if you know someone that's in need of our support and our services, let them know of the work that we do.
All good things. And let me add in there, if you have a restaurant that you'd like to open up at the center, maybe you should get in touch with Andre too and tell him your idea, because the Bronze Cafe moved elsewhere and you guys have room for one.
We do. And that RFP is on our website as well. It's thecenterlv.org/cafe. CAFE.
You have openings for volunteers?
Oh, absolutely. Thank you. We do have a volunteer program. The application is also online. We do a background check, interview, and we determine what's the best volunteering opportunity for you. Maybe it's ongoing. Maybe it's one time for an event. We have many opportunities to fit someone's needs.
Lots of love going around at the center?
Lots of love, acceptance, and support and understanding.
And inclusion. So if you do not happen to be part of the LGBTQ community, you are still welcome at the center because you welcome all.
Yes, part of our mission is support the well-being of the LGBT community and our allies, so that's our friends, and the low to moderate income residents of Southern Nevada. So I think we pretty much tackled everyone.
In fact, that's what I would be asking you at this point, Andre Wade. Is there anything I'm forgetting?
I think we did a great job of covering all the topics. You did a fantastic job of hitting all the points. I think that you've done your research and you have a big heart, and it shows.
It's all about acceptance and kindness. Leticia, darling, I know you're in the corner of the room. Thank you for bringing us together.
Yes.
And Andre Wade, Executive Director of the Center, serving the LGBTQ community. Thank you so much for joining us today on Talking Solutions.
Oh, my pleasure. Anytime.